Hello again. Today we're going to work on some Lockhart images. I have gotten quite a few emails asking me how I had colored my apples. This is Lockhart stamp apples and chintz. It's a great stamp. I love it. So today I'm just going to show you how I colored the apples there. And also, I'm not using this exact stamp. I'm going to use a different Lockhart stamp. I believe this is Delphinium and Peonies. So I'm going to show you how I color this image, and then in my next video I'm going to show you how to incorporate Flower Soft into your images. So a quick tutorial on that. So anyways, let's get started. I've already stamped this in my Memento black ink, and I'm just going to zoom in just a second so you can get a better feel for what I'm doing. I'm going to do purples and pinks today. For my purple tones I'm using V09 as my darkest, V12 is going to be my middle tone, and then V000 is going to be my lightest purple plum color. And for this image I'm making the smaller flowers plum, and I'm just going to go in here and just dot a little bit of my darkest color. I just want a little bit of this, and I'm going to show you how I would actually just color this even if I wasn't putting Flower Soft on it. But if you are using Flower Soft, of course you don't have to color perfectly because it is going to be covered up somewhat. But you do want to color your images before you put Flower Soft on them. You don't want any white showing through. So there, put that in, and now I'm going to take my middle tone, which is V12. I'm just going to go back and dot this in a few places next to what I've already done. Excuse me, I'm a little stuffy today. Seems I can't get rid of a sinus infection. Seems to be my curse in life, always to have sinus issues, especially in the spring. Okay, so now I'm going to take my V00 and I'm just going to go over what I did and just blend a little bit. Like I said, I don't want a lot of white showing in my image, especially since I'm going to go back and add Flower Soft. And the great thing with flowers is because they are organic shapes, you don't have to be perfect with your coloring. It looks more natural to just kind of spot it on there. I also want to show a quick tip that I do. If you have leftover scraps of paper that you use for your stamping and coloring of Copics, if you want to lay down your colors just to make sure that your color combinations are going to work well together, I just, run a streak of color across my paper, my scrap paper, and it gives me a good idea of how well they're going to work, whether I want to go a little darker for my mid-tone, a little lighter. But this is a good tip if you're not sure of color combinations, to actually lay them down next to each other on a piece of paper. So I just wanted to add that little tip for you. I'm going to add some pink, and I'm using R85, and I'm just going to go in here on these larger flowers and add some color, maybe where the petals are turned over, where the flower might be a little bit darker. Again, does not have to be perfect. And then to blend, I'm using R81. A little pink, a couple more spots. And that's the flowers. For my leaves, I'm going to be using G99, G24 is my mid-range tone, and G20. These three colors I do like to use together. I always add shading on my leaves. And I'm just adding some darker green towards the end where the light might not be hitting it so much. Let me go back in with my G24 and coloring over what I did and just going forward, leaving some area at the end for my lightest color. G20 and G40 are my favorite light sheer greens. They're wonderful to work with. They blend any green. I definitely think if you're adding to your colors, they're a must-have. G20 is a little bit more yellow based. G40 is just a little bit, I guess would be more green, blue based, but they're very sheer, so they're great to blend with. And that's how I would color the flowers for that image. And I'm going to use gray tones. I'm using C5, C3, and C1 for my watering can here. And I'm just going to go in, and you can see on this stamp there's some areas has some small dots. That's kind of a guideline for you, showing you where the darkest part of the can might be. I'm going to add some under here that might be shadowed by the flowers, and some here. I'm using C3. I'm going to go back over and blend outwards. And I also want to note with grays, you do not need every gray that might be on the color chart. My rule of thumb is every other, or even every third one. I do not have all the grays. I've kind of skipped around. You will use them, of course, but you do not need every single gray unless you're a professional illustrator. So keep that in mind when you're going to add grays to your collection. You know, definitely C1, which is what I'm using now, is the lightest. Great for blending, great for shadows. And then I would skip, like I have here, C3, then C5, C7, C9. Those are the ones that I have. And I have a couple of the warm grays. And again, I've skipped every other one. So just a tip for you so you don't run out and think you have to have all the grays. You really don't. And then I'm going to go back in with my pink and give my jug some color. I want the bowed out section to be a little lighter. Gives the watering can the illusion that it's bowed out there a little bit. And that's how I would color the Lockhart. And in my next video I will show you how I add flower soft to that.